Hello. I'm a
Good
minute.
morning.
I feel like that's one of the first times we've been a minute late. Yeah,
Oh,
there's no
I'm
real
late.
reason. We're just sitting here chatting. Good morning. Good morning. How are you all doing this fine Monday morning? Do you think the secret's gonna get people in? The secret
Maybe the
is late.
secret's yeah, no, I wasn't late. I was 2 minutes early. Well,
Chris
early,
is.
but I was just 2 minutes before Benjy got here. We
Oh,
don't
do
have a lot of time, to be fair, do we? Really?
no, I normally go for about like 15 minutes before, 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was not late today. He made it on time and didn't stress me out beyond belief, panicking. So that's good news, realistically speaking. But yeah, we're back. Another week, another week gone by in this lovely eBay reselling world. Apparently, which is good, pretty good on everyone's books. But from what I've seen,
I'm seeing positive things only realistically from a lot of people's weekends in terms of sales and stuff. We're hitting that time of year where people start spending a little bit more money. And then obviously we've just hit what are we on the 1st. So we've had a good 3 or 4 days of like people getting paid. So people have been spending
new winter getting paid, buying their new winter fits.
And then one of the funniest things actually was I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was talking to somebody. I was like, like winter's coming, like winter is coming. And then I think it was my brother. And then like the next free sales were all like £50 coats. And I was like, this is where we start. This is where it starts going good.
It's true. Literally, I'd say since the week before, last week, maybe even the week before, like most of my sales have switched to jumpers and jackets and stuff like that. I don't know if I've sent out any dresses. I remember Crystal was saying she was still selling dresses, but
so me and Crystal talked about it maybe a week ago. And I was looking through, I had like 15 sales in one of the days, and I was looking through, and I think it was like 6 coats and like seven dresses or like summary type items. So there was like a really big split between the two. I think people are still a little bit confused about what the weather's doing, because even when it's raining at the moment, it's hot.
Well, yeah, I was out on Saturday at the races, and it was raining, but I had to take my jumper off because it was just too hot to do anything.
Yeah.
I've scored a ski jacket, cardigan, jeans, coat, jumper, coat, trousers. Oh, one dress in here, snuck in. Hybrid jacket, jumper, cape, jacket, coat, cardigan. Like it's a lot.
I'm looking now, and I'm selling jumpers and coats and sweater vests, quite a lot over the last 24 to 48 hours. And then a couple of random shirts, but a lot of cashmere, a lot of jackets, a lot of like the North Face puffers and Rab puffers, and yeah, all that sort of stuff.
Lots of North Face and Rab puffers have had them.
Yeah, they're going well at the moment, which is good.
I wonder. I'll kind of jump into it first, because did you say on here that you were making a schedule, or no?
I don't think not on here. No.
Well, you posted on your story, didn't you?
Pardon?
You posted it on your story, didn't you?
Yeah, I posted on my Instagram story. Yeah.
Obviously, you made a beautifully colored, very coordinated schedule.
I did.
All your time blocked out into these lovely.
I mean, I didn't make it. Claude made it for me, and they color coded it with the similar tasks in each day, so it was all color coded. So when it was green, it was the same task on every day. So every green section of it was the same task. Claude did it all. It was great.
And how did it go?
So actually, really interestingly, it went quite well, and because I was so amped on the fact that I might forget that I've got it right, because I'm the I'm a big scatterbrain, right? Like a lot of the time, I say all the time, I could literally go on my desk and pull out like 50 of these little notes where I write stuff down and then I do nothing with them and they just sit on my desk, right? So I was very worried that I was going to forget about it. But because I was worried I was going to forget about it, my brain then overhypes the fact that I've got it. So I was checking it like literally every hour. Like, what am I meant to be doing? What am I meant to be doing? And I will say there's so far, I can't remember exactly the day I started. It might have been Wednesday. I've kind of altered it twice. So this morning I was meant to be up at 4:30 and do photos and do listings. I didn't get out of bed till 8:15. I turned my alarms off when I was tired. Turned my alarms off. So that's and Sunday. So it was actually the last 2 days. Sunday I was meant to get up and go to the car boot. The weather looked pretty bad the night before, and I was like, we'll work it out in the morning. I literally didn't even see I must have turned it off while sleeping. Didn't even remember turning it off. And I woke up at like 7 or 8 o'clock. I got up and did the pictures instead.
Okay. In that case, have we overdone it? Like, is that a lot? Is the schedule too much? Even because week one, you have to sleep in, then realistically, surely you're not capable of staying consistent with it.
No, so the issue actually is that, so this is something I've been not worrying about, but thinking about quite heavily over the last couple of weeks, is that I'm starting to realize that I don't know whether it's it could be sorry, I was doing my thinking. I do the same. But no, I don't know whether it's stress, pressure, a lot of things going on, or what. But I'm finding it more and more difficult to get up in the morning, at the 4:30, because I'm just tired, right? And I don't know whether that's brain tired, body tired. I shouldn't be body tired because I'm not going out charity shopping all day now. I'm doing a lot of sniping on Vinted and stuff. So, and I don't know whether it's my body saying you need to get up and do some exercise or whatever it is. But for the last couple of weeks, I have slept in past 4:30. And I say I've had a lie, and usually I'm up at 6:30, but I'm not sticking to the 4:30. And that's happened quite a lot, maybe even 10 or 15 times in the last month, probably closer to 10. But I'm finding it more and more difficult, I think, to get up in the morning, because I'm tired and I just turn the alarm off, and I don't know what's causing it. But I think that's the only thing that's gonna.
When are you going to sleep at a time that makes sense?
So what I will say is that with the group and stuff, some of the days where I'm meant to be getting up the next morning at 4:30, after calls, I'll sit around for a little bit, and then once I've sit around for a little bit, I have my bedtime routine. It sounds mental because I'm 37 or 8 or whatever I am, but I have I go and lie in bed and I'll watch Cybermen Among Us, and then I'll chill out for half an hour, and then I get tired and go to sleep. Right, I do that pretty much every night. But because of that, sometimes I won't get into bed after the calls and stuff until 9:30, which means then it's 10, maybe half 10, and then I'm going to sleep. And that for most people is probably when I was 23, I'd survive on 2 hours sleep because I was gaming all the time and doing I didn't need sleep. But the older I'm getting, the more sleep I need. And then, so I'm just finding it a little bit harder to get up in the morning.
Yeah, you need to be going to sleep at 8:30, 9 o'clock.
9 to 9:30 is usually when I was peak. I was getting up at 4:30 every morning, and it was fine. But the issue is that if I don't mind I don't mind sleeping in on the days where there isn't a car boot, but Sunday I turned my alarm off and slept when there was a car boot. That's the bit that is unacceptable to me, and the bit that annoyed me. And I know that seems very trivial to a lot of people, but me not going to a car boot, a thing that I enjoy doing and gets me out of the house. It's the one opportunity I have at the moment to get some exercise, walking around, speak to people, whatever it is. And also more recently, there've been places that I've built some relationships, and we're starting to progress with some of those. It's unacceptable, in my opinion, to miss the one thing, especially as we're moving into the winter. We're going to have a lot less of them. Mine luckily run until November, weather dependent, but obviously they're going to become fewer and far between, right? So in my opinion, it's unacceptable to miss them, and that's frustrating.
Fair enough. But we have to figure it out, realistically speaking. And if not, just adjust a little bit. If 4:30 doesn't work and you're doing that, then maybe you have to go 6:30 every day. And 6:30 does work because it's a lot easier.
So the only issue is the car boots, right? Because I'm usually at the car boot for 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. So realistically, the 6:30 only really applies to 3 days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Friday are the only days it applies to.
5:30 or it all depends how far the car boot is.
Yeah, so it's that's the issue, and maybe I just adjust the schedule to make it so that I do sleep until 7 on 3 days of the week, and then the other days of the week. But I don't know how my
body. Your body doesn't fuck with being up and down at different times. No. It's same old dumb routine. Again, it likes the same routine. Doesn't like being pushed up and down. I'm just quickly going to Shelly saying coach and jumper sales are good, but it's not fun carrying loads of big parcels into the post office. It's so when big parcels take up space in the IKEA bags I'm dropping off, it actually really annoys me. Like especially because I pick in this, right? Right, I pick in this and I'll stack stuff. And when I have big like coats or anything, I can fit about 4 things in here, and then I run out of space, and then I need to get another one, and it just annoys me that I need to do multiple things. Although I'm happy for the sale, right? Like fantastic. But I get that. And Crystal's still saying hers is very mixed. Packing 13 dresses this morning. That's crazy. Like I don't think I've got one dress sale out of everything. But fair enough. I mean, I guess that also is probably because your stores, because of over summer, has probably been heavily weighted towards dresses, I'd imagine.
I saw the kimono this morning, and they're quite lightweight and very summery and flowy and stuff. And I think people are still buying them, but I think it's just going to be fewer and far between, and maybe you get slightly less money for some of them.
People saying that they find, Jack just says he finds it hard to get up in the morning, full stop. And he says it finds it hard to get up earlier in summer. See, I thought that would be the opposite for sure. I find getting up earlier would be easier in the summer because of the sun and the temperature. Whereas in the winter, obviously, it's cold and dark, and that's your body's like, nah.
What I will say actually is that the correlation to me skipping some of my wake up times, it has like used to when my alarm went off at 4:30, I open my eyes and there's light coming through the window, right, like through the bedroom window. But actually, right now, it doesn't really get light until around 5:30, 5:45. So I wonder if maybe I'm not sort of twigging that it when my alarm goes off, like I'm not seeing the light, so I'm like, and then I turn the alarm off and go back to sleep. And then
so maybe those stupid alarms that like plays like UV light into your infrared light into your face to like pretend the sun's coming, and it sounds like a bulb, and it just wakes you up slowly. Well, it's wake you up gradually because it slowly just lightens the room. But I'm not sure Tash would be very happy about that when you.
No, she does not like my 4:30
when you've got a sun in your bedroom. And John actually just said the same thing. He said we want to stay in bed longer due to less daylight. So there you go.
Yeah,
but good. May keep making adjustments and try and stay on track because I'm very interested.
We haven't spoke about this, by the way, but I've got a topic that I wanted to talk about at some point. I don't know if it's going to be this week. I'll let you decide. But we nearly got banned from our parcel shop yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. And I can explain why. It's our fault, but I can explain. Like, I don't know if you want to go into it now or a different day, but
I mean, might as well, realistically speaking.
So Tasha came back yesterday.
Can I guess?
Go for it. Go on.
Can I guess? Actually, everyone guess.
Yeah, come on. Hit me
everyone
with
guess why he always got banned from his parcel shop, because I'm into that. So my guess is going to be, obviously you're collecting a lot of vintage orders at the moment. And obviously you're dropping some parcels off. Do you ship on do you say yesterday you almost got banned? Do you ship on a Sunday?
We ship every day, yeah.
Okay, so you ship on a Sunday. So did you ship yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, I think we had like 30 orders that got sent yesterday. But that it could have been, realistically, it could have been nearly 100. After, if we had have not shipped for the entire weekend, it could have been closer to like 80 to 100 if we'd have not shipped. But that's why we ship every day, because we never know.
I mean, my thought process would have been that you just would overwhelming them with stuff, and you didn't collect or something like that yesterday, or the day before for some reason, like that you left all your vintage parcels behind, and it overwhelmed everyone. And
that's not the reason.
You nearly got banned, and it was what gets you banned from a parcel shop if it's not dropping parcels off or picking them up?
It's quite interesting you went for the volume thing, because when I first started like a year ago and I was dropping off like 5 to 10 and sometimes 15, they would say it was a limit of 10 because it's a petrol station and it's a quote unquote service station, right? It's got like a Costa machine and a Subway and all this sort of stuff. So I used to work there. I worked there for like 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So I know a lot of the people. So I got talking to them. I said, I'll just scan these all in for you, and I'll scan parcels out, etc., so that I'm not holding up the queue. So that's what we've been doing for a long time. But about a year ago, they were very close to banning me because they didn't have space and time for me. But the reason why,
guess. Sorry, go for it.
The reason why is basically a week ago, roughly about a week ago, whatever that tune was back. Remember that was popping back in the day. About a week ago. About a week ago, me and Tasha decided to be more time efficient. we would have job roles. So instead of both of us going to do parcels or arguing that day who's going to stand there and take 20 photos or whatever, or one of us does 20 photos and then the other does 20 photos and stuff like that, we just said, she doesn't like doing the photos. So I said, I don't mind doing the photos. I'll do the photos, but you do the postage. And that frees up so I can do stuff while she's doing postage and she can do
I feel like blame towards Tasha's coming already.
Right. So for 1 week, for 1 week only, she has been doing parcels, right? But the issue is we've been going fucking ham on Vinted, right?
Yep.
So every time she turns up there's potentially anywhere between 20 and like 60 parcels every time. Mm-hmm. Now, anybody who has used Yodel to collect parcels, you have a little message on your phone that's got a barcode. You scan that, and then it gives you a tracking number. But then you've got to assign that tracking number to one of the parcels.
Yeah.
And if you've got 40, you essentially could go through 40 parcels before you find the right tracking number, right?
Yeah.
So what happened is Tasha got annoyed and decided that she was just not going to scan them. And sometimes the machine can play up, so I'll give her a little bit of leeway, but basically the machine plays up sometimes. Now, where I fall in part is basically because that doesn't matter. Like, not scanning them doesn't matter as long as when they come home, I sign them in, say everything's okay. The tracking gets finished, and it doesn't matter regardless, right? But the issue is I don't want to sit there and do that for 40 parcels, go through the Vinted thing and say everything's okay and I've received it. So what's been happening is I went through yesterday and did 124 orders that I had to go and say that I'd received because they hadn't been scanned. And I had to say everything was okay because they hadn't been mentioned that they were okay. And some of these parcels were over a week old, and some of the tracking has suggested that they were being returned to the customer. And I was having messages saying, "Oh, you didn't pick up the item's being returned, and I've already pictured it and sold it." So I've had to.
Yeah.
So like it's been a bit of a kerfuffle. So basically, they just turned around and said, "We're close to at this point. We're close to not doing it." And sometimes it's not her fault. The machine is like crazy, but it takes so much time. If you we're getting like 40 parcels sometimes from Yodel, and you have to scan one barcode and then search through 40 parcels to get the tracking.
Can you get nothing else delivered there? Is it just Yodel?
So Yodel gets delivered there. They've got a massive impost on the side of the wall, but it's very new and they haven't set it up fully yet. So any impost is now going to the Yodel shop. So it goes into the shop, and they're a lot easier to scan. That's not an issue.
Oh, it was the impost she's saying was the problem?
Oh, so there you go. It was the impost ones that weren't scanning. So we could argue that somewhat their fault because the impost locker on the outside of the wall's huge and it's going to be great when it's up and running. But they've had it there for 3 weeks and it's still not up and running. So because of the way that I source, I have done my longitude, latitude, and all that stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? And I've pinpointed on that shop because it's Yodel and impost, right? And there's an every that I drop off at like 2 minutes down the road drive away. So it takes it all to that sort of like similar area, right? But the impost goes into the Yodel shop now, inside the shop instead of in the locker, and that's causing a few issues. So yeah, they were furious with us yesterday.
Well, the big thing is they don't get credit. Like they won't get so obviously every single time they scan the parcel, right? Like that's them confirming they've done their job, and that's how they get their payment. So, for example, in my I asked Hull, hey, if you don't want to scan these, or can you just leave them? And he's like, yeah, I can, because the guy will obviously come and scan them whenever he picks them up. Yeah. But they're like, oh yeah, but we don't get our commission for
they don't get their cut for it.
So yeah, that would definitely fuck them up. And if you're getting stealing money from, and then people are chasing them up, like where are the parcels, what's happened to them, then I'll ask you, that's a pain in the ass. Terrible news.
I think, to be fair, I said to Tash yesterday, I said the best thing that we can do from this point on is not scan anything ourselves and just take everything to the shop and treat them like a normal shop. And they'll soon get frustrated with that because they don't want to scan out 40 parcels because they'll have to do it and then there'll be queues.
Way too much time.
So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is here because of the way that I source. It fluctuates between Impost, Royal Mail, Every, and Yodel, and you can't turn. I would love on Vinted if you could automatically turn off like buying, like you can selling services.
Yeah, I don't know
Royal Mail, but you can't do it.
I don't know why they don't have a default service option. All right. Well, that's fun. Don't get banned, because then you have to well, then you have to find another place, and they're going to have to want to do 30, 40 parcels. And if you haven't been there before, they're going to be very hesitant.
The funny thing is, we've got one place that's maybe like 2 miles away. It's like a 10-minute drive, right? It's like on the other side of town, and they do Royal Mail and Jodel, so it's the perfect place to go.
That's what I've got right next.
But it's a 10-minute drive either side rather than a 2-minute drive. Like it's out of the way of the route that we take. Like it's completely in a different place. So ultimately, we've got somewhere we can go, and they're very it's a corner shop, right? One of the premiers, and you know what they're like. They're always like, yeah, bring all of it. Just we want all of the parcels all of the time, because they just like.
So. I don't know if mine would be like that. Every time I'm really hesitant, because I've had loads of stories of people with the same sort of problem where the people don't want to take their parcels, and I keep like pre-warning them that, hey, I might. Like when I was going to start vintage sniping, I was like, this might be how many I get in. So you're going to be okay with that? And he's like, yeah. And then I might start bringing in, like say I bring in like 30 a day, then that's going to be a lot more. And that, are you going to be okay with that? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. And his show, he doesn't even have space in his shop, but he's just like, yeah, I'll figure it out. And I'm like, thank you very much. Because he now gets my returns as well. Like he just gets returns straight to, I just put my address as his place, and he just takes returns straight for me. Which is so much more convenient, because I had to bring them from my house, and I just let them pile up in my house, and then before they got here, but now I can just take them from there.
I think one of the hardest things, at least one of the hardest things in my area specifically, is finding a good parcel shop and finding one that works.
Do you think? Sorry, well, going off. Do you think we should start with whatever the title is first in these?
Oh yeah, we probably should.
Obviously, right? Everyone kind of comes well. Some people come for the title. Some people come just because they love our faces. But probably
less.
Probably less people. And obviously, I feel like we go for only like 20 minutes before we even get to the point. Generally speaking, and we could just switch it around. But yeah, maybe we should. I don't know. We switch that up for. But then we've got to let them wait like a little bit. You can't give them.
Yeah. Go make the people wait.
For those that don't know, they probably don't. They might have seen it dotted around. There was a eBay summer party last week on Thursday. And it was basically for I don't even know who was there in the end. Like there was a wide range of people. There was a lot of it. I thought it was centered around the meetup leaders. So people that don't know, eBay started doing seller hosted meetups.
So that's what I thought it was for the people that had hosted meetups, right? Because Shell was there, Olma, yourself from the one that you did, kind of. Andrew, Debbie didn't go, but she might have been invited. But then I saw a couple of people in there that weren't meetup leaders, i.e. the gentleman marketeer who's already just messaged in the chat. And I was like, oh, okay, so it wasn't just those people. There was some other people there as well. So it was quite interesting.
The reason I snuck in, quote unquote, is because technically I've been demoted as a meetup leader. And because I did the first one with Shannon Olma, and even then they did a lot of the organization. I did a lot of yapping on the day. Was kind of probably similar to the group we're in, to be fair. I did the yapping, did a lot of yapping, and then some thinking and input. But they did a lot of the organization, and then I got busy. Obviously, that we started this group, and then I just got busy and then stopped responding to anything, and then have been completely useless. So they've decided to go on without me, which is very fair. So I got uninvited from this party. I got an invite via email. They then cancelled the invite that they sent me and sent out another invite to everyone without me to basically invite people. But obviously I'd done one already. And then I think how they said it realistically is they asked people to invite sellers. Like they said you can invite they asked people to invite buyers, which is a very strange concept because not a lot of us know our buyers very well. Like a lot of us have got one-off buyers. Unless you sell the same stuff over and over again, you might have a relationship with a buyer you want to invite. But most of us are just like, I don't know who anyone is. Like I've met a few people that done collection, but realistically, there's no one you'd want to invite. And also the dynamic I feel would be a bit weird as such. So instead, Shell and Omar asked if they could just invite, other sellers. And the people that got the call up, I got my pity invite for hosting the first one. And then Simon and Luke got one from, I think, on Shell's side. So they invited us through. But why didn't you invite you? That's fun. I haven't spoken to Ema in a while. Chuggles. She's disappeared off the face of the earth. Although she would have if she was still around. She would carry my whole business at one point. If anyone that doesn't know, there was a woman who was buying like 30 items a day from me at some point. Like she was just buying everything. She'd come back and buy she started, the first purchase she ever did was like 30 to 40 items, and then she'd come back and buy like 5 a day.
We all need these types of customers.
And then she just disappeared off the face of the earth, and I didn't chase her because she was, I don't know if she was, it was what she was buying. I don't know if she was checking stuff properly. And she was like dealing with pretenders. Anyway, that was a good time. She was bringing me she would spend like $1,000 on my store a month. It was crazy. Anyway, so it was basically, I think, centered around the host leaders, but they could invite guests. But then also, for example, Jammy Dodger was there, and Nick and Andrea were there, and there was some influencer type people, and then also some business related people they clearly had good relationships with. So I don't actually know who was who, but there seemed to be quite a range of people. And it was kind of, we got there and it was proper afternoon tea. We were out they put gazebos up, and it was tipping it down on and off. And they had the little sandwich stands set up, and they had scones and jam and cream on the side. And I didn't know what their dress code was. There was no dress code on anything. So some people turned up dressed really, really well. Tommy Trades and his girlfriend were both dressed really, really nicely. And then it was me and Luke in shorts and a t-shirt, just chilling. But that was really good. But it was actually a really, really good networking event. Out of all the eBay things I've been to, obviously there was a free bar for 3 hours, so that helps get you lubricated to network. But generally it was actually a really good networking event, because I think a lot of the other events you've been to, and it might be because you have the groups or whatever that you kind of go to, and your friends in the space and people kind of stick together in that sort of way, but everyone was kind of thrown together, and because it was probably a bit smaller, it was a lot easier to navigate. And you end up talking to a lot of people. But probably the few interesting parts were probably some of the people I met, but also what eBay had to say. So they did a sit down reverse panel. Normally you get seller panels, right? Where someone from eBay will interview sellers. They'll be like, oh, how do you feel about this? What do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Blah, blah, blah. But it's actually the other way around. There's a guy called Matt Giles, and I can't remember his YouTube channel or anything like that. Really nice guy. He was chosen to host the panel, and you had Sholto, who is the chief. He's probably, I think, one of the most senior people in the building. I don't remember his exact title, but he said chief at the start, so realistically it was something important. And then you had someone in charge of buyers in the UK, and then someone in charge of seller interactions and stuff like that. I can't remember exactly. But there was a lot. The things that they spoke about that were that was very prominent on their mind, and has probably been heard elsewhere. Thank you, Andrew, Chief Commercial Officer. That's what I was looking for.
Not Master Chief from Halo.
No. They were massively hyped up on AI. Unbelievable.
It doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form.
It's been everywhere for them, and they were proper AI is the future. We think we're really well positioned to put AI forwards, and because we've got this whole backlog of information about buyers from 20 plus years that we can feed into it to teach it what it's meant to do. And they didn't actually let us ask any questions.
No, so this is what I heard, that they were very selective about the questions that they were answering. And also, just as a side note to what you just said, buyer behavior from 20 years ago is completely irrelevant to buyer behavior of today. So actually 20 years ago, feeding it that information is going to be completely pointless.
I mean, there was a lot of things I would have asked questions on, but again, They weren't even. I don't even think they were selective, but they had like a massive. Matt was sitting there was a massive wad of cards, which probably all had questions on. He didn't even move past the first card. I think he asked 2 or 3 questions, maybe more, but they just had very long answers.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like. Sometimes it wasn't even directly answering whatever the question was.
so
And
what was the ratio between social and actual, like, we're going to talk to you about stuff? What was the ratio?
in terms of like the information they gave?
Yeah. Like, because obviously it was probably what, like a 6-hour event in general.
Oh, so realistically, there was that panel was, I think, only 45 minutes an hour, and that was the only time they spoke. So all the rest of the stuff, we had lunch, then we went up for that panel, then we came down for something else for a bit. I can't remember. And then we had the meetup leader panel, which had like Ulmer on it and some of the other leaders, and then that was kind of it. That was kind of informationally, that was it. And then the rest was just people talking to each other. But yeah, it was super interesting because they were super hyped on AI. They've also talked about the fact a lot that apparently eBay has grown a lot or is up. And they're actually, the interesting thing they're talking about, but again, I would have had some questions on, which is basically said that private buyers were down last year at this time. And now they've like surpassed where they were at by a decent amount. And they were basically saying that was based on a lot of the changes they've made, like fee free that they've put in and stuff like that. My question would have been how much of that is business sellers that have moved to private accounts just to sell because there's no fees over there.
Also, it does make sense, right? Because if people start on Vinted, so like the some people that are just like, oh, I'll sell it on Vinted rather than taking it to the charity shop or whatever. Because of the free fees, obviously, then there's a potential that they just turn around and say, well, I might as well put it on eBay, like just as a side to Vinted. So I do eBay and then I do Vinted as a side.
Yeah.
They've gone, oh, well, I'm doing Vinted, but because of the free fees, I might as well just throw it on eBay anyway and see what happens. And then they just kind of match the stores.
Something they mentioned was something called AI feed or something like that, or some at live. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the way they phrased it is they talked about making it easier to cross list or like list items from other platforms. And I don't know if that meant like Instagram, because obviously they've already connected Instagram and stuff like that to your feed, or they're talking about actual cross listing on like other marketplaces. And the only reason I could imagine they do that is because, for example, if you've already listed on Vinted, she means Shopify. That makes sense.
That does make sense, yeah.
That would make a lot of sense. So anything that's automatically, that would definitely make the most sense. But yeah, that I thought was exciting for a second, but I was like, there's just no way it is what I think it is. So it makes sense that it's Shopify. But yeah, there was a lot of talk about AI. Again, all 3 of the leaders, like the 3 heads that were there, just talking about AI in their own right. Like, for example, one was talking about AI in terms of the buyer experience and how that's all changing. And then one was talking about AI in terms of like listings and smoothness for sellers and stuff like that. And then the chief commercial officer was talking about it as like a whole in terms of integrating it into the system. The other thing that they're actually still very hyped on is live. So they were quite big on, and I think they were trying to recruit people whilst they were there. Like Simon got asked to do live, I think, and some other people. But there was a lot of talk about live, and they were hyped about that because they were talking about the numbers in the US, and they're doing like 500 mil a year in turnover on live in the US, and here it was only 2 mil at the moment, and it's just started like properly in the last couple of weeks. And then they're expecting it to get to 40 million by the end of the year, which I thought was surprisingly good. Like they expected 40 million. I don't know what sectors. They talked a lot about live in terms of trading cards being the most successful thing, cards and stuff like that.
It's the biggest category on Whatnot at the moment, isn't it? The cards and stuff. And then I don't know if you've noticed, but they on eBay, like on their phone, that they've given you like the top 5 like most selling categories or the trending categories. Have you seen that? Okay. So I don't know whether. Let me just bring it up on your phone. They've got like a trending category section. Let me just find it quickly. So you can see here, or you might not be able to, but there's basically says selling, and then it's trending categories. So here it says number one in search is CCG individual cards. So Pokemon cards is like number one in the search trending. And then
this section.
Watches. There you go. You can see it better on yours. Watches and dresses and stuff. So I think but obviously, like maybe a few months ago, people were talking about car parts being one of the biggest categories in eBay. Now, obviously, they're clearly showing that cards is up there. So it does make sense for them to push them. And obviously, from a business perspective, if anybody doesn't know when it comes to the trading cards community in general, is the margins are tiny, like tiny. They're usually in the region of like 5 to 10%, like if that, a lot of them. So you need to do serious volume to make it work, which is why the people on Whatnot are doing very, very well with their lives, because they're able to get stuff in and out. They can do hundreds and hundreds of cards like within hours. And that's probably why eBay will try and capitalize on that from a live market.
They said that they were kind of interested in other categories as well, though. But again, I think trading cards. They said that trading cards category had exploded. Like it had gone up. It had gone up hundreds of percent a week. Like it had been increasing that fast, which is very interesting. But
so I just wanted to say, based on the live thing, right? The thing that I always found super interesting was I used to watch a guy in America called Harry Tornado. A lot of people know him. He was a big guy.
That was the biggest resellers in the world in terms
of so he went onto Whatnot, and they talked quite heavily at the start about the fact that they didn't want to prioritize clothing and footwear and stuff like that, which is the sort of thing that most of us would like think about, like from our selling perspective. Because if they have an audience of 50,000 people, but only 500 people turn up to that live, you've got like 500 people have got to be the right size. They might not want the trainers. They've got to have the right colorway, the right brand, like all these sort of factors. So when you're live selling clothing and footwear that is very size and style dependent, it is so difficult to do so. So one of the reasons why live wouldn't work for me, I don't think, is because I wouldn't have enough people in there for the ratio to make sense that somebody might want this size 4 trainer, like in this style and this color and all this sort of stuff. So that's where I think live is going to really.
It would be super interesting if you had. So they talked about QVC, right? And like no one's really doing what QVC does in terms of the live space over here. And it's true, but QVC, the way QVC does live selling compared to all the marketplace type platforms is very, very different. They have a product that they spend a large segment on showing the benefits, selling the story to you, selling the convenience, selling why it's beneficial. They have demonstrations, they have everything come in for one product of the same thing that they'll try and sell multiple, like the same thing over and over again. Whereas again, a lot of the eBay sellers and general live sellers, versatile, like very, very wide spread of things. And I don't think that works as well. I think like trading cards works fantastically because two things. One, they are not that expensive to buy, generally speaking, unless, for example, a lot of what you'll see on streams is people buy packs that the streamer opens, which is really interesting. And it's having just a massive boom at the moment. Like Pokemon's like fucking through the roof again.
It's gone crazy again, yeah.
But the reason trading cards works is it's impulse collectibles, in my opinion. And for live, that's perfect. Like if you're looking for collectible stuff that people will impulse buy and the barrier to entry is not too high, is perfect. Like, whereas if you're looking at clothing, yes, it's still impulsive, but again, it needs to be very right. Whereas that collectible item can be available to everyone. Even like plushes and stuff like that works the same. I think if you're going to go down the clothing route and stuff like that, and obviously we're speaking without even seeing any evidence of things yet, but it's you need to do something special, or you do have a system where you have all the same clothes, like of different sizes, and you can sell it to kind of anyone that wants it. It would be difficult. The other thing is so on top of that, for example, there's a woman who got sent to the eBay headquarters. She does luxury handbags. It was really interesting to talk to. Because I think she tried live and it didn't go that well. Like because obviously she does luxury handbags and she's looking to get the money she normally does for a luxury handbag. and you're expecting the people to turn up and bid the big money for it.
So is their name Samoa? Was it a lady? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Samoa or something like that?
No, I think it's Sheena.
Oh, okay.
I might have said that wrong. Apologies if so. But yeah, she sells luxury handbags, and she got sent off to like eBay headquarters last year and everything. Her story's really cool, of like kind of how she started and stuff like that. Yeah, it's Sheena. Cool.
Okay.
And yeah, so she was there and she was saying she couldn't get it. She couldn't get the money for it, and it's not unsuspected, right? So yeah, there's, I think the live is interesting, but again, they're very excited about it. And all of them they all said excited, like they were asked to describe the future of eBay in 3 words, right? And they all said like excited.
They're not going to come out and say, "Oh yeah, we don't think this is going to work, but we're going to do it anyway." Like they're not going to say that. So obviously they're going to have to say they're excited, and they can be as excited as they want, but ultimately it's got to work, and they've got to do it in the right way. And I've seen very small snippets of the live so far over here, and it hasn't worked right now. And that's not to say that it won't, but like right now, it doesn't look like
it's a lot about making it work, right? In terms of no one knows how to navigate to it now. No one's there to understand what's going on. So like realistically, they haven't pushed it on eBay, and the social media thing is kind of from people, but they're like, we still get lots of people in, considering we haven't done anything. So it'd be interesting if it does work like that. But again, I think live is something you really have to think about how you do it, because it's so specific, and it's such a short time frame that you really have to kind of figure out and click in. But the word they did say was what's the word for like, innovative. They said like the word to describe the future, innovative. And he was like, yeah, we haven't really said that over the last few years, but we're really trying to do stuff differently. But yeah, it was just interesting to hear a bit about how things had gone. Obviously their focus was very obvious. I would love to see if they do have such a hard focus on AI. Like I said this to you before, and I think I've said this in the group, surely it has to work out at some point, right? Like they have to figure it out at some point. And I think who asked earlier? I think Andy asked about third parties. I can't remember.
Then potentially like looking into, so if somebody does like a list, maybe they can take the information or the stuff from that. I think it's what.
Yeah, but so would you withdraw the information that supply the independent AI listens? I don't know, but again, at the moment, I think they just want something to work.
I was talking to Andrew, and when we were at his meetup, and he was mentioning it quite heavily, which is that the eBay are very focused on AI, but they're probably a couple of years behind the people that are already doing AI. So like they're probably a few years behind like ChatGPT and the places that are doing specifically AI. So unless eBay start partnering with these types of people and maybe fast track their understanding of AI, I think they're always going to be slightly behind. And I think the generalized issue with AI specifically when it comes to eBay in terms of what they can do, realistically, let's be completely honest, their SEO search like title is completely different to what a lot of us do, right? Like the actual structure of the titles are different. So when they do start implementing their AI, people like us would have to change it anyway. So ultimately,
sorry, you mean like the title?
When it comes to if they start doing titles for us, and if they start doing, so the item specifics is a big one, right? Like, and I spoke to my rep like maybe a year or so ago, and I was talking to them about like recreating the website and maybe like actually updating it and doing all this, and she was like, "Well, we can't basically build a new website, so what we're trying to do is make it as easy as possible for sellers to sell. So like filling in all the item specifics with AI." Essentially is their way of going, let's remove the item specifics without removing them, if that makes sense, without rebuilding the website. So that's where I think it'll be really interesting until they start, unless that AI is allowing every person to have a specific setup to how they want to list their item. That's the level it's got to get to before it's actually a usable.
I mean, I think it could work a lot better. It will work a lot better for, again, we always come from a clothing perspective, right? So we're pretty biased. But like for electrical equipment and cameras and stuff like that, the list, it should actually smash it. Like it shouldn't be too complicated. Even like Hanley with car parts, I don't know, but I would assume it would be easier for it to get a more accurate title to what you need, because it's much more based on what it is than the style of it, which is like subjective and interpretive, and it needs to know what people are searching for. But I think it will come at like, again, the two things it will struggle to do is title and price. And again, the pricing might be easier for other things. And again, I don't know if I'm just making it, oh, my niche is hard type of argument right now, but I assume it's easier. And if it's not, obviously let me know. But yeah, we'll see. Because I think it'd still be quicker, for example, if you could like AI bulk list and then just go down and correct the titles like in a strip like that.
Oh yeah, it'd still be faster, but obviously I think it's gonna be very difficult then for them to. It's the same with anything in this world, right? Like it's very difficult to appease everybody. Ultimately, there's going to be different people that do it different ways. So yeah, I think it'll just be tough for them, but I hope they get it sorted out. Ultimately, look, this is one thing that I always say, right? And I know Jack made a joke there, which is like the future of eBay in one word: bleak, right? But the fact of the matter is there's people that are running very good businesses, and even with the boom of Vinted, like eBay's still my number one selling platform, right? So if you can take into account that eBay's like not performing or it isn't as good as Vinted right now, and it's still my number one selling platform at its quote unquote worst, then clearly it's still doing pretty well. And if the future is even slightly better, then it only means good things for us, right?
I'm sorry, I just got distracted by Hanley saying no, car parts are actually harder because it's factual and requires fitment. No AI has been able to manage car parts. Really?
Yeah, I think she mentioned it previously, but obviously car parts is quite difficult. If it's got to be able to read the part number, and then it's got to go into the internet to find out what that part number is associated with. And also, I think some part numbers might cross-reference. So like a part number from like a Ford might be the same as a Rover. So it has to know the difference between the two, maybe some stuff like that. So it probably would be very difficult. And I know that I think
a database though that would be super like easily fixable.
I don't know. I know that tech was when his lister was like quite popular. A lot of people said used car parts was one of the most difficult things for them to get right, because obviously you've got no product information from boxes and stuff like that. So I think in general it's relatively difficult.
That'd be very difficult, actually, honestly. But that's weird. I feel like they should be able to sort that out. Like in my head, I'm like, if I'm an AI man designing it, I'm like, I just put this together.
In my head, it's the same. Like if it's reading, like a DVD player that tells you it's a Samsung DVP X77600 or whatever. Like in my head, like that should be relatively easy to understand what it is.
Totally.
So a car part, if it's new, should be similar. But it depends what information's on the box, right? If it's just a product number with no other information, maybe it is difficult. I don't know. I've not sold enough in the car part sector to. I've got some Audi brake lights in my shed that I haven't listed because I don't want to deal with it because I know it's going to be a hassle.
Interesting. Do you think they're dumb, Hanley? do you in your head? Do you think it? Obviously, we're sitting here chatting, but do you think it's like? You think it should logically it should be easy to solve, or do you understand why it's so hard?
I was going to say she's the only person realistically that's going to know the answer.
Our answer, to be honest with you. Yeah. Talking that of which, though, but like obviously that was like the one side of things, which is the eBay side of things that they told us. But the other thing that was incredible for me, obviously, I still get to saw my usual friends and faces, that I was enjoyed talking to. But it was meeting people that I've never met before that have crazy businesses. Like again, you some of them were a bit like separated out a little bit, but even the ones that didn't have crazy business were just different businesses, like really different. It was super, super interesting. Because you don't get to interact with, or you don't know these people without like being introduced to them. Like I can't just go out, and I could probably find someone on eBay who's a big seller of this, and I'm not gonna. You can probably DM them on eBay and be like, "Hey, do you want to talk to me?" And they'll be like, "No, go away." But you don't get to interact with these people without kind of being introduced with them and finding out who they are. And like there was people there that had big businesses, or previous big businesses. Like even though there was a guy there who's called X something, X News. I don't start. Andrew will probably know because I really need to write stuff down. But he basically runs a e-commerce newsletter, and he's been doing that. He was on eBay like 18 years ago or something like that, and since then when he started up his store, he like did this as for fun on the side, and then he eventually ended up just leaving that and doing an e-com newsletter. And now his job is basically to update people on changes that platforms are making, international things that would affect sellers, all this sort of thing. And I was asking him, he was like, I was like, how would it work for someone like me? Like, is it good to come read the news? And he's like, there's some things that might benefit you, but a lot of it is like about for probably new sellers who are trying to sell their products on different platforms and what the different platforms are beneficial for or lacking or you need to do or pricing and stuff like that. And he's talking about an article that he wrote for, he bought a nail gun, or was it a nail gun, on eBay, but then he bought all the accessories for it on Temu. And he was like, why are people not selling nail guns on Temu? And because there's an opportunity for it there, and why is there not the availability for the things in the same fashion on eBay? And kind of what's it's just super interesting, and he does all sorts of things. But he was telling me the only thing that he told me that was probably a benefit to used sellers was that Royal Mail have apparently sorted so if you don't know, that there's basically a big problem with shipping to America now, not just because of tariffs, but because they used to have an £800 limit before they started charging certain fees on things, and that's been reduced, and now sending small things over there has a massive fee on it. And I was getting messages from buyers, hey, can you please make sure this gets here before this, because I don't want to pay this. And I think that was going to stop GSP, well, or maybe at least really, really impact GSP sales. But apparently Royal Mail have already sorted like a cheap duty option, like in terms of dealing with the duties. And so hopefully that should mean that continues to run smoothly, and that the GSP shipping centers and stuff like that will just, go through there to kind of make it work. Andrew didn't talk to the newsletter guy, so he doesn't remember his name.
Was there anybody there that does like replenishables that was like massive?
Yeah. No.
I think that's the one business model that makes me think like I could do that on the side of what I'm doing. Like if I could find one or two, maybe even like up to 5 products that were replenishable, take the smaller, which is usually inherently they're smaller margins, right? But you're just selling them in volume. And I like the idea of having that alongside what I'm currently doing, so that you can have like a good balance between the two. So I'd be interested to see whether anybody had like a super successful thing that's like small sort of replenishables. No, or if there's anybody there at all, realistically, that was doing
a few of the big, like really big ones, a couple of million, were like tech, with tech people.
Yeah.
There was one guy that was interesting that he was talking to me about. He used to do 5 million a year, but he barely made money, like, which is
that's crazy. Or 5 mil,
mental. But he ran a consignment model where he sold stuff for people, and I didn't really. I'd probably have a sit down chat with him at some other point as well, because just of interesting of the statistics of his business line up with quite a bit of what I want to do. But that was super, super interesting. And then the other one is so those are like the big sellers. There was a big pre-loved tech seller. There was one really big pre-loved tech seller, and then there was people that also had businesses that just encompassed AI, right? Like their main business, sorry, not AI, encompassed eBay, but their main business was not eBay. Like there was like an actual wholesaler, not like a wholesaler, like for clothes wholesaler, like someone who deals with the manufacturers, gets wholesale prices and then sells it to Europe wide for tech. And that was his full-time business. And he obviously then outlet some of that through eBay, and did some of the sales through there. But they were like, yeah, we're pretty big. I didn't get the direct numbers from them, but I got the impression that they were doing some stuff. Also South African, funnily enough. the South African, they were a South African couple. So that's funny because obviously you got Crystal and Roger going together, and then Hanley, I think, is bringing her partner in. So you just got lots of South African couples on the up and come. But yeah, they were really big and they did a lot of stuff. But the ones that I also found interesting were people who just did very different things, right? Like I talked to a guy called Stuart, and he just sells garden ornaments, right? but he just sells random stuff. And he's been doing it for years, and he's done lots of different iterations of his business. That was the interesting thing. Like I'm me and you were young in the eBay game, like young.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say in the eBay game, yes, young no, but in the eBay world, yeah.
Like with 2-3 years, these people have been doing and been around it for like 20, and they're talking from experience of kind of how they've gone through the platform and like the iterations of their business. And like Stuart, he started, obviously he's selling garden ornaments now, and he showed me a little picture of just a gold garden gnome that he sells. Like it's just a little garden gnome. He had a picture of it as wall, and that's like a replenishable. He's been selling that for years, and he just buys more of the same thing. But he will reach out to people and find out, oh, hey, what trending items are going on in terms of the garden, what are people buying? And that's his replenishable style of doing things. And he'll just fill that up and kind of send it off. But he's like, previously, you go back some time, he was selling men's earrings, and he was on Amazon before anyone else was on Amazon, and there was like 40 different pairs of earrings that people could buy, and he was a majority of them. And he said, I made an absolute killing. And then China came along, and you got the Alibaba products, and he was like, yeah, then I was done. And then it was over. And he was like, oh yeah, I bought a coffee shop, and now I just kind of just to chill and kind of relax and do that sort of thing. It doesn't make much money, but it's what I like doing it. I'm like, fair. And he's like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna buy the other shop down the road and open a plant shop. And I was like, cool, man. Like, yeah, that's cool. He's like, eBay's not crazy, but like, I've done a lot over the years, and now it's kind of where I want to head with it. And then the other guy next to him that I was talking to, they do like Amazon returns, like all the electrical part returns. And I was talking to them because that's a really interesting style of business, because you don't know what you're going to get realistically.
You don't know if it's going to work either a lot of the time.
You don't know the profit margins, you don't know anything. You have a general idea, but you have no idea. And so, for example, what they will do and how they're making it work is they will buy an Amazon pallet, and then if something is good from it, that they find it sold really, really fast, done well. Scott and Jono is different. Yeah, that's not the people I was talking about, but Scott is another one I wanted to talk about, because he was a very interesting. He hosts the Portsmouth meetup, and yeah, they do returns, and basically, if something sells really well from their pallet, they will go to Alibaba and see if they can find if there's not much competition, they will see if they can find a version of it, bring it back, import a load, and they'll then try that. They'll then experiment with that product as a replenishable.
I quite like the idea of that. That's quite an interesting way of doing it.
So again, but then it's like storage and stuff like that is going to be weird and stuff like that. But one of the other really interesting guys that I've met before, because he was at my London meetup, is a guy called Matt. But he's just joined the group as well, so he'll be in the business tonight. And he's been doing it for like ages as well. And the way he does things is completely different. So like it's so cool to come across these people and kind of look at all the different ways of doing business, and kind of how that works. And like, for example, Andrew's talking about Scott. Scott is like grown past doing eBay because he went massive on social media. He's big on TikTok. It was funny, one of the first questions he asked me is like, oh, do you follow me on TikTok? I was like, I have no idea who you are, sir. But then other people do. And I actually technically should know who he is, because again, he is a meetup leader, and there's a chat full of meetup leaders that I've just ignored for forever, who are all very lovely people, but there's nothing against them. I'm just useless in that fashion. But yeah, he was super interesting. He was talking me through the social media side of things, and kind of how that had grown, and kind of what he's done there, and then how he's ventured outside of eBay to kind of sell some stuff and do his thing, and how that's been successful. So it's just loads and loads of different individuals and different ways to sell. And I feel like on the Instagram / YouTube side of things, you get exposed to the same type of reseller quite often, like over and over again.
Yeah.
That are doing very similar things, generally speaking. and you don't really see past it. So when you go looking, normally you see the same thing. Like you're going to get exposed to the same idea.
Yeah. I was going to say, you also drift towards those types of people as well. So if I'm going to YouTube and I see somebody buying and selling clothes, I navigate to that person because that's what I do, right? Whereas if I see, like, I still watch Master of Pieces. Like, I don't touch like kids' toys a lot or like smaller toys.
Yeah, that's good.
Cut toys. So like, but I still watch him anyway because I love his passion for it.
I just love watching Ian.
I love watching people that love what they're doing. Like that's not my biggest enjoyment is to what. So it doesn't matter who it is on YouTube. Like I'll watch anybody if they enjoy what they're doing. Like I've seen Flippin' Sloth like selling Hoovers. I'm like I'm never. I picked up one Hoover before. Never did anything. It went to the charity shop because I just couldn't be bothered with it. So like I like the idea of just finding people that are passionate and interested in what they're doing. But a lot of this is kind of interesting because I've come to the realization or the thought like recently is like I need to know what my next move is like further down the line. So like trying to work out what I want to do with, obviously we've got eBay and we've got the group and then I've got my other project that I'm working on and stuff like that. But where do I funnel all of that? Hopefully money at some point. Where do I funnel that into? What's the next step for me? What do I want to do?
Money at some point.
Yeah, well, hopefully. But yeah, I've been looking and thinking about different places to put that money into different businesses and trying to work out what I think is the right method and where to go with it outside of eBay and outside.
But even still, like that's what I'm saying. Even you're looking at the eBay business, right? Like there's like a load of different levels above it of eBay business that like you probably like there is big. The guy that I was speaking to who did like the 5 million, he clearly had a massive business, right? And obviously it didn't work out exactly how he wanted it to. But he was like, "Oh, do you know this guy, this, and this guy, this?" And he's talking about like the person who runs Melissa Hembry and how they get stuff in, and how he said Melissa Hembry can do one person at Melissa Hembry can do like 100 listings by themselves, photoed and listed in a day. And that makes sense if they're there all day, right? But still, like that's a crazy process. I don't know if Andrew's taking the piss out of you or he's genuinely serious himself.
I know, yeah, because I thought that was quite interesting because one of my like not exits from eBay, like exit strategy from eBay, but like the add on to what I'm currently doing is I wanted to do like storage container locations and stuff like that. But my overall plan would be to try and get like 5 to 10 storage locations for containers because in my area specifically, it's very difficult to get a storage container. I'm still waiting for a 40-foot. I've been in mine for nearly 7 months and I'm still waiting. And it was only 2 months ago that I actually got an extra 20-foot container. So that was something I was really interested in. But then like once you get 10, I wanted to then be the guy that owned the land that rented the storage containers, because that's even less maintenance, right? Like it's just you're owning the land. So like just trying to go through the system of where you to get to, and that's something I've been going over in my brain loads.
That's funny that Andrew's the same thing because when you said it, I already told you that I'd been there and like talked to people about it already.
Yeah,
I think you get closer there. But yeah, there's loads of ways to do it. There's loads of levels above, and like these people do exist, and they're doing mad things. And again, it was so interesting. It was actually the first person I probably spoke to outside of like who I already knew, that was just like, "Oh yeah, do you know this guy?" And he just named another absolutely fucking massive person. And he's like, "Oh, do you know this guy?" I was like, "No, I don't know any of these people." But I was like, and he was really open and like willing to help and talk. So it was really cool. But yeah, these people exist and they're absolutely smashing.
So I've got a question for you though. But talking to these types of people that are obviously massive and they've had eBay and some of them not so much now, do you think that is giving you the impression that eBay is a limitation or that you can still do all the things that you want to do on eBay? Because obviously if a lot of these people are huge businesses and they're no longer on eBay or it's a very small section of their business, is it giving you the impression that eBay might be limiting? Or do you
So there were some people that doing massively on eBay, like like 100%. Music Magpie would have been very interesting. There was people doing massive bits on eBay, but there's also people doing massive bits on eBay, and eBay was like a supplementary part of their business, or people that had massive businesses and they navigated somewhere else. I think there's a lot of ways to do it. I think if you want to do something, you can 100% do it through eBay. But I also think at some point you can look to outgrow it, and like eBay's always kind of been a hack, right? Like if you took eBay and Vinted out the picture and you wanted to sell stuff online, or if you just took online marketplaces out the picture, right, and you're like, I'm going to try and sell my own stuff online, you would suck. You would suck. It would suck. It would be so much more difficult. It would be so unuser friendly. eBay is like a cheat to get you to a place where you can instantly sell things. And the fees you pay and the money you give eBay is to make your life easy. It's because it's easier to give them the money than get traffic to your website and grow a brand and like make stuff saleable that isn't saleable. Like it's you pay them the money to do all the extra work for you. And at some point that becomes not worth it because you've got enough money to do all the extra work without it causing a problem or having to worry about that. And at that point, I feel like you can outgrow and figure out your own thing. But I think you can still do it on eBay. You can still pay eBay to do all of that. And I'm assuming some of these massive sellers probably negotiate fees and stuff like that. But yeah, you can do it on eBay and you can do it off eBay and you can do it with eBay as part of it, but not like the whole thing. And even like some of these massive companies, like if you look at some of the golf companies out there who do golf clubs, there's a buy and sell golf clubs website that has a massive business on eBay and also sell golf club on their website. And then it becomes supplementary. Yeah. So there's a lot of ways to do it. eBay is, I don't think, a limiter, realistically speaking. Like if you're talking in that position to like bigger things, I think it's an enabler. Actually, is actually how I put it. Because again, I think it's a hack to get a business off the ground without doing all the things that normally a business would require. For example, even if you ran a brick and mortar shop, you have to buy the land in the right space. You have to market it. You have to sell the right products. You have to you got to do the market research. You got like everything. Whereas
I've said it before, right? Like there's not many, but like I started this business, I bought a camera for 150, sold it for 350, and that 350 was the starting point to where I'm at now, right? Like I've not put any extra money in. If I was doing any other business on any other platform, I would need probably infinitely more capital to start, right? There's no way that I could start up a brick and mortar store for 350 quid. Like,
whereas you can grow this from literally zero to hundreds and thousands, or you're going to pretty much already in a couple of years, and then even way past that if you want to, if you really get some things sorted. But it's very interesting, and again, seeing how all these different people do it. And there's loads of different options is really cool, and again keeps your mind open and aware and of other things, which is cool. Yeah,
it always brings me back to the first time that I watched like Harry Tornado and Chatty Pete. They were the first two people that I found, and watching them do, like, when you like, so for me, I've always been 9 to 5 working in a normal job or whatever. And the first time I saw somebody making a living off buying and selling things and like doing a business on eBay, do you know, like that light bulb moment sometimes you just get, like, I was like, oh my, like, how have I not known that?
There's people doing stuff.
People, you know what I mean? Like they don't have to go and work for the man. They are the man. Like, you know what I mean? Like doing all this sort of stuff and just pushing in and just, working. You're working for yourself. You're not working for the people, all this sort of jazz. And you just think to yourself, Jesus, like I need a bit of that, because in my world that was never a thing. So obviously now you go there and you see people that are doing like millions a year, and you go like, that might be another point. Now I know that you knew that was possible, but like it's just another reinforcement that, damn, like people are doing this. Like it is possible, and anybody can do it if they've got the right setup.
Yeah. There you go. That's what I learned from sneaking into eBay headquarters.
AI is coming. That's what you've learned, because they are on that at the moment.
And I'm definitely going to work on probably getting some of them in as guests to come talk in the group as well, because I think it's super interesting. And a lot of them said they were interested in down. Andrew was telling it was bad because Andrew was basically like, oh, you need to talk about it. And he was out there pitching his affiliate code to people.
Of course he was.
I didn't want to go around and talk about it. I ended up talking to a few people about it, and some of the bigger people as guests, and they're like, yeah, cool, I'm down to come talk. So we'll see if we can follow up on that and get some interesting guests in. But yeah, lovely. 7-day free trial in the reseller group. Still going on.
Free trial. 100% success rate, by the way. Everybody who's joined the 7-day trial has signed up.
Yeah.
So
But
it's good.
But that's it. Thank you very much, everybody, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Have fun.